Hello everybody, welcome to my channel.
Albert Einstein was a German-born theoretical physicist who is widely regarded as one of the most brilliant and influential scientists in history. Born on March 14, 1879, in Ulm, in the Kingdom of Württemberg in the German Empire, Einstein revolutionized modern physics with his theories of relativity and his profound insights into the nature of space, time, energy, and gravity. Early life and education. Einstein was a curious and independent-minded child. He showed an early interest in mathematics and science, though his unconventional thinking often clashed with the rigid structure of formal schooling. He studied at the Swiss Federal Polytechnic in Zurich and graduated in 1900. Despite initial difficulties finding academic work, he secured a job at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern, where he worked while continuing to pursue his scientific interests. Scientific achievements. In 1905, known as his Annus Mirabilis, or Miracle Year, Einstein published 4 groundbreaking papers that would change physics forever. Photoelectric effect, for which he later received the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1921. This introduced the concept of light quanta, photons, laying the foundation for quantum theory. Special theory of relativity. This established the famous equation E equals mc2 equals mc2, showing the equivalence of mass and energy. Brownian motion provided empirical evidence for the existence of atoms and molecules. Electrodynamics of moving bodies resolved inconsistencies in Maxwell's equations for moving objects. In 1915, he published The General Theory of Relativity, a monumental work that expanded his earlier theory to include gravity, describing it as the warping of space and time by mass and energy. This theory was confirmed in 1919 when astronomers observed light bending around the sun during a solar eclipse, an event that made Einstein an international celebrity. Later life and legacy. Einstein emigrated to the United States in 1933 to escape the rise of the Nazi regime in Germany. He joined the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey, where he continued his work in theoretical physics. Although he played no direct role in the development of the atomic bomb, he famously signed a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt urging the U.S. to begin nuclear research, concerned that Nazi Germany might develop such a weapon first. Einstein spent his later years searching for a unified field theory to reconcile general relativity with quantum mechanics, though he never succeeded. He also became known for his political and humanitarian activism, advocating for civil rights, pacifism, and global peace. Death and cultural impact. Albert Einstein died on April 18, 1955, in Princeton, New Jersey. His legacy endures not only in the field of science but also in popular culture, where he remains an enduring symbol of genius. His image, wild hair, thoughtful eyes, and often a playful demeanor, has become iconic. His work continues to shape modern physics, and his name is synonymous with intellectual brilliance. Albert Einstein's life and work extended far beyond equations and theoretical physics. He was also a philosopher, humanitarian, and outspoken social critic who used his fame to champion important global causes. Einstein's personality and beliefs. Einstein was known for his deep humility, playful humor, and passionate curiosity. He often resisted authority and tradition, both in academic circles and in broader society. Despite his fame, he lived simply, favoring modest clothing and preferring solitude for reflection and study. He believed in freedom of thought, nonviolence, and individual responsibility, and was particularly drawn to the teachings of philosophers such as Baruch Spinoza. a secular Jew who described himself as agnostic or spiritual. Einstein rejected dogmatic religion but saw beauty and order in the universe that inspired a kind of reverence. He once said, "The most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious. It is the fundamental emotion that stands at the cradle of true art and true science." Political and social activism. Einstein used his public platform to speak out on a range of issues, civil rights. After moving to the U.S., Einstein was appalled by American racism. He joined the NAACP and corresponded with W.E.B. Du Bois. He famously referred to racism as America's worst disease. Zionism. Though he was not religious, Einstein supported the cultural and scientific aspects of Zionism. He declined an offer to become the President of Israel in 1952, saying he lacked the experience for political leadership, pacifism and nuclear disarmament, although he warned about the potential of Nazi Germany developing nuclear weapons, which helped prompt the Manhattan Project. Einstein later regretted the arms race and became an advocate for nuclear disarmament. Scientific legacy and influence. Einstein's impact on physics is immeasurable. His theories redefined fundamental concepts of reality. Special relativity changed our understanding of space and time. General relativity provided a new description of gravity, replacing Newtonian mechanics. His ideas paved the way for technologies like GPS, which relies on relativistic time corrections to function accurately. He also influenced the rise of quantum mechanics, even though he remained critical of aspects of the theory. His famous quote, "God does not play dice with the universe," reflects his discomfort with the probabilistic nature of quantum physics, although he helped lay its groundwork. Einstein in popular culture. Einstein's name has become shorthand for genius. His quirky appearance, unruly hair, pipe in hand, and kindly expression has been immortalized in posters, cartoons, books, and films. He was one of the first scientists to become a true global celebrity. Despite this fame, he remained skeptical of public adoration. He often said he preferred to be remembered not for his fame, but for his contributions to knowledge and human dignity. Final thoughts. Albert Einstein was much more than a scientist. He was a thinker who grappled with some of the deepest questions of existence, a moral voice in turbulent times, and a symbol of the power of human intellect and imagination. His legacy lives not only in the pages of physics textbooks but also in the broader human story of inquiry, courage, and compassion. Education and early career struggles. Einstein's educational journey was not without challenges. He enrolled in the Swiss Federal Polytechnic School in Zurich in 1896. Where he struggled with the rigid curriculum but excelled in physics and mathematics. After graduation, he could not secure a teaching job, likely due to his outspoken nature and unconventional style. Eventually, he found employment at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern in 1902. This seemingly mundane job gave him ample time to think, and it was during these years that he developed his most revolutionary ideas. Einstein's miracle year of 1905. In 1905, at the age of 26, Einstein published 4 papers in the journal Annalen der Physik. These works changed the course of modern science. Photoelectric effect explained how light could be both wave and particle, helping launch quantum theory. Brownian motion provided empirical evidence for the atomic theory. Special relativity introduced the idea that time and space are relative to the observer. Mass-energy equivalence gave us the iconic equation E equals mc2 E equals mc2, suggesting mass can be converted into energy. Each paper would have made a scientist famous. Combined, they marked Einstein as a revolutionary mind in physics. General relativity and world fame. In 1915, Einstein completed his general theory of relativity, a theory of gravity stating that massive objects cause spacetime to curve. It was not until 1919, when a solar eclipse confirmed one of the theory's key predictions, that light bends when passing near a massive object, that Einstein became an international sensation. The New York Times famously ran the headline, "Lights all askew in the heavens, men of science more or less agog." Einstein's name became known far beyond academic circles, cementing his place as a global icon. Personal life and relationships. Einstein's personal life was complicated. He married Mileva Maric, a fellow physics student, in 1903. They had 2 sons, Hans Albert and Eduard, and a daughter whose fate remains unclear. Their marriage ended in divorce in 1919. He later married his cousin Elsa Lowenthal, with whom he had a more stable, though still unconventional, relationship. He had numerous affairs and was often emotionally distant from family, a contradiction to the moral image many associated with him. Despite his deep insights into the universe, Einstein often struggled with intimate human relationships. Later work and philosophical quest. Einstein spent the later decades of his life seeking a unified field theory, an all-encompassing framework that would unify the forces of nature, gravity, electromagnetism, and eventually quantum forces. He did not accept the indeterminacy of quantum mechanics, famously stating, "I cannot believe that God plays dice with the universe." Though his resistance to quantum uncertainty isolated him from many younger physicists, his philosophical approach to science emphasized clarity, logic, and beauty in theory, values still held in high regard. Death and legacy. Einstein died on April 18, 1955, at the age of 76. In a controversial move, the pathologist who performed the autopsy removed his brain without permission, hoping to study the physical basis of his genius. Parts of Einstein's brain were preserved and studied over the decades, sparking both fascination and ethical debate. Today, Einstein's name symbolizes not just genius, but also the power of creativity, independence, and moral responsibility. His work continues to inform astrophysics, e.g., black holes, gravitational waves technology, e.g., GPS systems, philosophy of science, cultural thought, and education. In Einstein's own words, few scientists were as eloquent as Einstein. A few of his most quoted ideas. Imagination is more important than knowledge. For knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world. The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. Try not to become a man of success, but rather try to become a man of value. Einstein's views on religion and spirituality. Einstein often spoke about religion, but his beliefs were nuanced. He did not believe in a personal God who intervenes in human affairs. Yet he rejected being labeled an atheist. His view is often called cosmic religion, or Spinozism, rooted in the ideas of the 17th-century philosopher Baruch Spinoza, who equated God with the laws and beauty of nature. I believe in Spinoza's God who reveals himself in the orderly harmony of what exists, not in a God who concerns himself with the fates and actions of human beings. Einstein's reverence for the universe and its mysteries gave his scientific work a spiritual dimension, though not in a traditional religious sense. He valued awe, humility, and the sense of wonder that science could inspire. Ethical and humanitarian beliefs. Einstein held deep ethical convictions. He spoke out against war, nationalism, and racial injustice, and believed in the need for global governance to prevent conflict. He was also a strong supporter of individual conscience, saying, Never do anything against conscience, even if the state demands it. He advocated for world peace and human rights, and in later life warned against the dangers of nuclear weapons. Alongside Bertrand Russell and others, he helped spark the international disarmament movement through the Einstein-Russell Manifesto, 1955, urging world leaders to avoid nuclear war. Love of music was central to Einstein's life. He once said, "If I were not a physicist, I would probably be a musician." He began playing the violin as a child and continued throughout his life, often using music as a way to relax and think. He loved the works of Mozart and Bach, believing their music reflected a kind of mathematical perfection and harmony. His passion for music intertwined with his scientific creativity. Both, he felt, were expressions of deep universal order. Friendships and correspondence. Einstein corresponded with many notable thinkers of his time, including Sigmund Freud, with whom he discussed war and human nature; Rabindranath Tagore, on science, reality, and consciousness; Charlie Chaplin, with whom he shared admiration and mutual respect; Niels Bohr, his intellectual sparring partner in debates about quantum mechanics. Despite his fame, Einstein valued authentic relationships and intellectual exchange over social formalities. Cultural and scientific legacy. Einstein's influence extends far beyond physics. His name is synonymous with creative genius, revolutionary thought, the pursuit of truth and knowledge. His theories underpin much of modern science, including gravitational wave detection, first directly observed in 2015, black hole research, e.g. the Event Horizon Telescope image in 2019, cosmology. His equations help shape the Big Bang Theory and models of the expanding universe. In technology, Einstein's work influences GPS systems, which require adjustments based on relativity, nuclear energy, and medicine, semiconductor and laser technology, via quantum theory. Einstein in death, myth and meaning. After Einstein's death, his image took on mythical proportions. The story of his brain being removed and studied became a symbol, both of society's obsession with genius and of ethical questions surrounding scientific curiosity. He became a pop culture icon, his wild hair, pipe, and gentle smile appearing in films, books, t-shirts, and ads. Yet behind the image was a man deeply engaged with the world's moral and intellectual challenges. Final reflections. Albert Einstein wasn't just a scientist, he was a philosopher, a humanist, and a symbol of intellectual freedom. His life reminds us of the power of curiosity, the importance of questioning assumptions, and the need to connect knowledge with compassion. The world is a dangerous place, not because of those who do evil, but because of those who look on and do nothing. Einstein's legacy is not only in what he discovered but in how he lived. Always searching, always questioning, always human. Compass timeline of key events in Einstein's life. 1879, born on March 14 in Ulm, Germany. 1896, enrolled at the Swiss Federal Polytechnic School in Zurich. 1902, begins working at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern. 1905, publishes 4 groundbreaking papers. Annus Mirabilis, 1909. Appointed professor at the University of Zurich. 1915, completes General Theory of Relativity. 1919, relativity proven during solar eclipse. Becomes globally famous. 1921, wins Nobel Prize in Physics for the photoelectric effect. 1933, emigrates to the U.S. After Hitler rises to power. 1939, warns President Roosevelt about nuclear weapons. 1940, becomes a U.S. citizen. 1955, dies in Princeton, New Jersey. On April 18, Globe. Einstein in World War II. Einstein was a lifelong pacifist, but the rise of fascism and Hitler forced him to re-evaluate his stance. Deeply concerned that Nazi Germany could develop an atomic bomb, Einstein signed a letter, written by physicist Leo Szilard, to President Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1939 urging the U.S. to begin nuclear research. This letter helped spark the Manhattan Project, though he did not work on the project himself. Einstein later expressed deep regret that his name was tied to nuclear weapons. Had I known that the Germans would not succeed in developing an atomic bomb, I would have done nothing. After the war, he became one of the most prominent voices advocating for nuclear disarmament. Statue of Liberty Einstein in the United States when Hitler came to power in 1933. Einstein, Jewish and outspoken, was immediately targeted. He renounced his German citizenship and moved to Princeton, New Jersey, where he joined the newly founded Institute for Advanced Study. He lived and worked there for the rest of his life. In America, Einstein criticized McCarthyism and the erosion of civil liberties, campaigned for African American civil rights, refused to stay silent on social injustice. Often risking public backlash, declined offers to lead the State of Israel, saying, "I am deeply touched, but I lack the natural aptitude and the experience to deal properly with people." Test tube science, society, and Einstein's role. Einstein saw science as a deeply moral and human endeavor. He rejected the idea that scientists should remain neutral about how their work is used. He believed science should serve peace, justice, and progress. He famously said, "Concern for man and his fate must always form the chief interest of all technical endeavors." He also warned against the mechanization of thinking, fearing that excessive focus on rote knowledge and obedience in education would crush creativity. Graduation cap Einstein on education. Einstein believed traditional schooling stifled creativity. He disliked strict discipline and memorization, advocating instead for curiosity-driven learning, critical thinking, creative exploration. It is a miracle that curiosity survives formal education. His views helped inspire more open-minded, inquiry-based models of education in the 20th and 21st centuries. Puzzle piece. Lesser-known facts about Einstein. Microscope. Late talker. Einstein didn't speak fluently until about age 4, leading to rumors of developmental delays, sometimes called Einstein syndrome. Violinist. He loved Mozart and played the violin passionately throughout life. Brain preserved. After his death, Einstein's brain was removed without permission by Dr. Thomas Harvey for research and later divided into many preserved pieces. Love letters. Some of his personal letters revealed a complicated and often troubled romantic life. Prohibited. Not a fan of socks. He famously disliked wearing socks and considered them unnecessary. Writing. Handwriting. He wrote most of his manuscripts in a small, tidy, and unmistakable hand, hundreds of pages of which have been archived and digitized. Dizzy enduring influence. Einstein's legacy continues to inspire scientists exploring gravitational waves and black holes, philosophers and ethicists debating the role of science in society, educators designing more student-centered learning, activists using his quotes and principles to support freedom, peace, and equality. Even in pop culture, Einstein remains a symbol of genius and rebellious intellect. Family life and personal relationships. Einstein's personal life was complex, at times turbulent. Mileva Maric, first wife. Mileva was a fellow physics student at the Polytechnic in Zurich. They married in 1903 and had 3 children. Lieserl, their first daughter, likely born in 1902 before their marriage. Her fate remains unclear. She may have died young or been given up for adoption. Hans Albert Einstein, an engineer who had a long academic career in the U.S. Eduard Einstein, a gifted young man who suffered from mental illness, possibly schizophrenia, and spent most of his adult life in psychiatric care. Einstein's marriage to Mileva was marked by emotional distance and conflict. In one of his letters, he proposed a strict list of conditions she must follow to remain married to him, a list that reveals the cold and clinical side of his personality. They divorced in 1919. As part of the settlement, Einstein promised to give her the Nobel Prize money, which he fulfilled after winning it in 1921. Elsa Einstein, second wife, he married his cousin Elsa in 1919. She helped manage his public life and household, but the relationship, while steadier than his first, still had its challenges. Einstein had extramarital affairs, even in this second marriage. High voltage. The Einstein-Bohr debates. One of the most famous intellectual rivalries in modern science was between Albert Einstein and Niels Bohr over the interpretation of quantum mechanics. Einstein believed in deterministic laws, that nature follows precise rules, even if we can't always see them. Bohr championed the Copenhagen interpretation, which accepts fundamental uncertainty at the quantum level. Einstein's most famous critique: God does not play dice with the universe. Bohr replied, "Stop telling God what to do." These debates shape generations of physicists and remain foundational in the philosophy of science. While Bohr's views dominated 20th-century physics, Einstein's criticisms still resonate with many who are uncomfortable with pure indeterminism. World map views on nationalism, Zionism, and identity. Einstein was deeply skeptical of nationalism, which he viewed as dangerous and primitive. He renounced his German citizenship twice, first in 1896 to avoid military service, and again in 1933 to escape Nazi persecution. He supported Zionism, but in a
Bye bye. Thanks for watching. Bye.